Good evening, class, and welcome to our performance management class with Chima. Today, we are taking Learning and Experience Curve, Part 2. Before we go into Part 2, we need to have a recap on what we did in Part 1. In Part 1, we learned that learning and experience curve comes with manual labor. So it means that when labor is involved in a process and that labor is not something that can be done by a machine, this involves human labor, then it comes with learning and experience. Much especially when the labor process is not so easy. So that means you must learn and have experience. Then we said that as you are learning on the job, your learning rate is important. There are some people that are fast learners, and so their learning rate is high. There are people that are slow learners or not as fast as someone else. Their learning rate will not be as high as the other person. But one thing about learning rate that we know is that as production or your task doubles, we observe a constant learning rate. What we mean here is that if you are doing a task for the first time and you are learning on the job, let's say you are trying to become a tailor, you want to learn how to sew, or even when you are doing Excel for the first time, trying to try your hands on a particular function or formula, you find out that you waste a lot of time. That is important because the next time you are going to do that task, that is the production has doubled from 1 to 2, you will know whether you are a fast learner or you are having a slow learning pace. So we observe that from your production level from 1 to 2, a learning rate is observed. By the time it increases from 2 to 4, that same learning rate is being seen. And from 4 to 8, that same learning rate is observed. And it's come to the point where learning must stop. So you can't be learning one thing forever. Just like learning to drive a car, you must stop learning at some point, and your efficiency can be measured. That is what we call the steady state. We now saw about 9 or so principles we need to follow when we are solving a problem with learning curve. We saw the formula. The formula is y equals to, I'll write the formula right now. Let me write the formula. The formula is y is equal to ax raised to power b, where b is equal to log of r all over log of 2. Now that's the formula, that is the guiding principle in learning curve. We also said that learning curve can also be done using a tabular form where we increase our production by 2 and we give the same learning rate. I think a question will lead to that. We learned that when we are using the formula, we need to look for the measure of x, then the value of x. measure of A and the value of A. Then we move to B. If B is given, use it. If B is not given, but your arrow is given, convert your arrow to a decimal. Find the log of arrow, divide by the log of 2, you get your B. Put your B in 4 decimal places. And your B should come with a negative sign. Then we talked about the X, that X is the number of activity or number of productions cumulatively. So that means we are saying that your X at any time must start from the origin, from 1 to that point in time. Then your Y is the cumulative average. And I said that there is a need for us to look for the total, which is T, which is equal to X and Y, X multiplied by Y. Normally, we're supposed to look for T first. We're supposed to look for T first and then get Y should have been T over X. But because our formula does not involve T, but involves X, so we have to look for Y first, then we get a T. Although this is not a mathematics class, there is a way we can equate these two and get T in as a function of A, X, and B. There is a way we can get T as a function of A, X, and B, which is given as that's beyond the scope of this class. Then we are also told that we need to look for a small t, which is equal to big T minus Tn minus Tn minus 1. So that's all the things we learned in part 1. And we solved a question. We solved a question on that. And so we are going to now enter into part 2, where we will see how we will solve more questions. Look at part 2, exercise 2. Akoko PLC has recently developed a new product called Echo, which has been in production for the past year. The plant producing Echo is shut down for routine inspection and maintenance every 3 months, and during the first year's operation, the cost of shutdown have been as follows. Now, before I go further, this is another ICANN past question. The part 1 we did, we solved an ICANN past question. This is another ICANN past question. I will get to the question details, but for now, let's solve it. Quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Shutdown cost. These are the cost, shutdown cost, 36, 38, 27, and 25,200. The management accountant attempts to forecast maintenance costs for the coming year. Now, what it means is that this quarter 1 to quarter 4 is for 1 year, because there are 4 quarters in a year. And these are the total costs for all the quarters, each of the quarters. Now, management attempts to forecast maintenance cost for the coming year. Now, the coming year is, let's say, year 2. And on examining the data above, it appears that this costs have been steadily decreasing. So you can see it is decreasing from 36 to 28.8, 27, 25.2, right? The engineers have suggested that this is probably due to the fact that the maintenance engineers are becoming more used to the procedures involved. What is it telling you? That they are learning and they are becoming conversant with the procedures. So you see there's a learning here, and let's continue. And also the fact that the plant itself is gradually settling down after the initial operational problems. If this is the case, an appropriate learning curve could explain the situation which has been observed. Now, if you look at this question here, you can't easily tell what is your X, what is your Y, what is your A, what is your B, and what is your R. Okay? Now you are asked, explain the concept of learning curve. What is the concept of learning curve? So look at the first question. Explain the concept of learning curve. So let's look at the concept of learning curve. The basic concept of a learning curve is that the more a particular task is performed, the more proficient the individual becomes, and therefore the time taken decreased, or I can even say the cost incurred is decreased. In the initial stages, the learning effect is substantial, leading to marked decreases in time. Someone is saying that the question is November 2019, question 4. Okay, so let me check if that's the case so that I can indicate it in my answer. November 2019, question 4. Just a moment, let me confirm that. November 2019, question number 4. Okay. So someone says question number 4. I like sharp guys like this that go fast to go and get that. That's fine. November 2019, question number 4. So now we are saying here that the basic concept of learning curve is that when a particular task is involved, the more you do that task, the more proficient the individual becomes, and the time taken for the task decreases. In the initial stages, the learning effect is substantial, leading to marked decreases in time. In later stages, the individual becomes more familiar with the task, and the rate of learning slows down. This effect is captured in a relationship between the average time taken per unit and the cumulative number of units produced or task repetitions. What this is saying is that when you are beginning to learn a particular task, at the initial stages, it's so fascinating. Your learning rate increases, and you'll be like, wow, is that so? Is that so? I have learned something. Oh, I see. Marked increase. And as you keep doing it, it is now autopilot. Your learning rate slows down, and at a point you no longer learn. So it's captured in the relationship that we have been talking about, this equation or this formula. So that's this. All right. Now we come to the second part of the question. Estimate the rate of learning which is inherent in the data. What are we asked to look for here? Estimate the rate of learning. The rate of learning is R. We are asked to look for R. Now, how can we look for R when we are not given B? We are not given B. But are we given A? Are we given X? Let's find out. We are going to be drawing this kind of table now, and I will draw this table right now, and you will see how this table is being gotten. So I will come here and say, let me write down this question number. Let me use a different color for title. All right, so this is ICANN past question. November 2019, question number 4. Yes, question number 4. And I will say Coco PLC. All right, so we are in the B part. Estimation of learning rates. Learning rates R. So this is the learning rate. So how do we estimate the learning rate? I'll draw a table now. This table will comprise of what we have here. So quarter is our X. So I will say this is quarter. So this is our X. It's independent, right? Okay. Then this is our shutdown cost. This is the table we want to bring down. Shutdown costs. Shutdown costs. Then we have total shutdown costs. So because I say total there, this becomes T. And this is cumulative average shutdown costs. So this is your Y. Because why we say Y is cumulative. Now you see now, we are not using formula, we are using table, and we are finding total first, then we are getting average. Okay, so I will come here. This figure, these ones that we are giving, I'll use a different color for it to show that it is given. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, then we have 36, 28, 8. 36, 28,800, 27, and 25,200. 27 and 25,200. Okay, so how do we get our total shutdown cost? In quarter one, when we are treating quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four is not even in existence. So as at when we are treating quarter one, let's say it's January to March, we spent 36,000. That means the total cost for the quarter we have spent, or the total we spent from January to March, will be 36,000. Right? Now, what is the cumulative average? We said before that our y is t divided by x, right? If we are given this equation like this, t equals to x plus y, x multiplied by y should be t divided by x. So that's what we are doing here. Y should be t divided by x. So 36,000 divided by 1 should give me 36,000. All right. Now, I should have used black, but no problem. Let's continue. In quarter two, this is what we have just in quarter two. That means the total cost for the year so far, that is total cost from quarter one to quarter two, because it must be cumulative, should be, I think it's cumulative they wrote there, cumulative total. Yes, cumulative total. So let's put it as cumulative total. Let me say cumulative. Cumulative total. Okay, so having done that, so 36,000, let's bring our calculator. We have 36,000. Then we are adding 28,800. So that means the total in quarter one and quarter two is 64,800. So this is 64,800. So because there are two quarters, you want to find the cumulative average, you would divide 64,800 by 2. So what we do when we get that, 64,800 divided by 2, that gives us 32,400. 32,400. 32,400. Then we have quarter three. Quarter three happens to be 27 for just that quarter. But if you want to cumulatively count the total cost from quarter one to quarter three, we will need to add this 27 to this running total of 64,800. So we will have 64,800 plus 27,000. That will give us 91,800. So that's 91,800. Then because it is 3 quarters involved, we have to divide by 3. When we divide this by 3, divide this by 3, 30,600. So this is 30,600. Then we come to the last one. We have 91,800 is the running total already. Then we are adding 25,200 to the totals. So it becomes 117,000. So we have 117,000. That is the running total cost. So it means that from quarter 1 to quarter 4, there is a total cost of 117. It's like saying T1 to T4. What is the average? Divide this 117 by 4. Divided by 4, and we have 29,250. 29,250. 29,250. I think I can hear someone in the background. I hear a noise crying in the background. Let's mute ourselves, please, so that let's mute ourselves. All right. Now we have done this. Now we have not finished. We have just only did this table. Now, why did we do this table? We just want, and we are asked to estimate the learning rate. Okay? So what it means now is that from this here now, our A is the first cost we had. Of course, A is 36,000. It is not this 36,000 that is the A, nor this that is the A. It is this 36,000, the first cost that is the A. So, what do we say? As production, as X increases from 1 to 2. So as X increase from 1 here to 2 here, comma, the cumulative average costs decreases by a constant percentage called the learning rates. The learning rates. So what are we saying? As production goes from 1 to 2, your cost decreases from 36 to 32. The average cost, that is what it means. The average cost decreases from 36 to 32, 400 by a constant percentage. So what it means is that this is 36,000 and this is 32,400. 32,400. All right. Now, what will make this 36,000 to become 32,400 is because it is decreasing at a constant rate called R. So we need to find R. So to make R subject of formula, R will be 32,400 divided by 36,000. So let's get that calculation done. 32,400 divided by 36,000. It gives me 0.9. 0.9, which is still 90%. Now, what we've just tested is just from production 1 to production 2. We need to retest to see whether it harmonizes with all the data. We also said if production doubles from 2 to 4, the same learning rate should be observed. So what it also means is that to test if the rate holds true, we check what happens when production increase from 2 to 4. I'll say double. So when production increases from 2 to 4, we have the 2 here is 32,400, right? And 29,250. So this is 32,400 and this is 29,250. We want to check if it's the same thing that we observed, then we will say multiply by R. That means our R will be 29,250 divided by 32,400. So what would that be? We have 29,250 here in our calculator divided by 32,400. And we have 0.902. So we have 0.902, which is approximately equal to 0.9, which is 90%. So you see here that our learning rates, we will say our learning rates is estimated to be 90%. And that answers that part of the question. The learning rate is 90%. All right, let's look at the next question here. So we see here that R is 90%, which we can say 0.9. Okay. The C part says, using the learning rate that you have determined, forecast the total shutdown for routine maintenance during the coming year. They said forecast the total shutdown costs, total cost of shutdown for the routine maintenance for the coming year. Okay, so what are we going to do now? All right, so need to explain this to you here. We said a year has 4 quarters, isn't it? That's fine. So 4 quarters make a year. And so if we are going to combine 2 years, it's going to be 8 quarters. So what we're going to do now is we are going to find the total for quarters 1 to quarter 8, which is as good as finding the total for 2 years. Then we'll now remove it from that of the first year. So let's see how we can do that. So the C part says total costs of shutdown for year 2 only. Is that the import of the question? Let's see. Forecast the total cost of shutdown routine maintenance for the coming year. So that's for year 2. Okay, so what do we have already? We have our A to be 36,000. We have our R to be 90%, which is 0.9. Okay, we have I will say this is Y 1 to 4, which is quarter 1 to 4. Just Y quarter 1 to 4 happens to be 29,250, which is this year, 29,250. Then we have already T 1 to 4, which is the total, happens to be 117,000. So these are the things we already have. These are the things we already have. So they said using the learning rate that we have gotten. So we will say as production doubles from 4, so quarter 4 to 8, quarter 8, the learning rate is constant at 90% or 0.9. So what we now mean here is this. This was our quarter 4 figure. So this is quarter 4, Q4, and we are trying to look for Q8. So if the Y, if Y 1 to 4 is 29,250, what is quarter 8? Y 1 to 8. That is what we are trying to do now. So we said before, 29,250 multiplied by R should give us something here, which is for quarter 8. So we'll say 29,250 multiplied by 0.9. What should that give us? 0.9 multiplied by 29,250. That should give us 26,325. 26,325. So this figure is y1 to 8. So I would say y1 to 8 is 26,325. We need to look for t 1 to 8. It's simply x, of course x is 8, multiplied by y 1 to 8. Someone is asking a question. My background is cracking and disturbing the class. So sorry. There is there's no noise here except the generator sound outside. Inside here is quiet. So sorry if there is a disturbing background noise. Apart from that, can others hear me clearly? Others can hear me clearly, please state that in the chat room. Okay, so we have 26,325 as our quarter 8 average, which we call y1 to 8. y1 to 8. Someone says it's coming from my network. Oh, sorry, so sorry. But can you hear me clearly now? Is it from my own network or from the person's network? You are meaning me, just say from lecturer's network. I will know it's me. Okay, so okay, yes, sir. That means lecturer's network. The fact that you didn't put lecturers means you didn't hear me. Okay, so can someone tell me where he or she had me last so that I can go from there and start? So where did you hear me clearly last? Okay, I will take this question again now. The total cost of shutdown for year 2 only. And we have been given our A is 36, our R is 90, which is 0.9. Then we got our average cost for the first 4 quarters to be 29,250, and the total running cost for the 4 quarters as 117. And we say the learning curve principle is that as production doubles from quarter 1 to quarter 2, there is a constant learning rate, which we did in the first example. Then as it doubles from quarter 2 to quarter 4, the same learning rate is observed. Hence, if it doubles from quarter 4 down to quarter 8, the same learning rate should be used. Mind you, quarter 8 is the end of the second year. So that's why we're also saying quarter 4 to quarter 8. Now look at quarter 4, our average was 29,250. We don't know what average of quarter 8 will be. Cumulative average. Alright? Then now we also look at the learning rate. The learning rate is R, and we said the question says using the learning rate that we have gotten or estimated. So we are using this 0.9 to multiply that of quarter 4 to achieve the average for quarter 8. So this average 26,325 is the average from quarter 1 down to quarter 8, because everything we are doing is cumulative. Now that we know our average, let us find total. The total is going to give you x, which is 8, multiplied by the average from 1 to 8. The average from 1 to 8. So that means when x is 8, which is like quarter 8, multiplied by what is the average here? 26,325. So this is T1 to 8. So what would that give me? We have 26,325. If I were to multiply this by 8, it gives me 210,600. 210,600. Now this figure is for year 1 and 2. So what we're only looking for is year 2. Year 2 only. Year 2 only should be T5 to 8. So it's going to be from quarter 5 to quarter 8. What we've gotten is quarter 1 to quarter 8. So how do we get T5 to 8? So it means here that T5 to 8 is equal to T1 to 8, because you have to measure from 1 to 8, minus T1 to 4. So you have to measure 1 to 8, and you remove 1 to 4 from it. So what you have is 5, 6, 7, 8. So already you say year 2 only, which we say is T5 to 8, is equal to, what is T1 to 8? We have it here as 210,600. Then T1 to 4, we have it already here as 117,000. So 117,000. Okay, so this is going to give us something interesting. Minus 117,000. That will give us 93,600. 93,600. So you see here, in the first year, they spent 117,000 just for the first year. In the second year, they spent 93,600. So that means if you add the first and the second year together, cumulatively from year 1 to year, from quarter 1 to quarter 8, 110,600. So this 93,600 is what we have gathered. And now we are asked to yes, that's what we just calculated using the learning rate that we have determined. Forecast the total cost of shutdown for the routine maintenance during the coming year. So we've gotten that to be year 2. Year 2 costs, say year 2 only is 93,600. That's what we got here. Now look at the third part of the question. Assume that learning ceases at the end of the second year. Forecast the total cost of shutdown for routine maintenance during the third year. So we are asked here to find Y3 only, and we say learning stops at Q8, which is the end of the second year. Okay, so let's do that now. Let's change the color. So here in the D part, someone said I should leave the meeting and rejoin. Oh, all right, so just a moment. All right, thanks for all the feedbacks. The question here is asking us here that assume that learning ceases at the end of the second year, which means learning stops at Q8. Forecast the total cost of shutdown for the routine maintenance during the third year. So we are looking for year 3 only. And I want to say year 3 only is equivalent to saying T9 to 12. So that is what we are looking for. We want to look for this total cost. So how do we go about it? We say here, we are computing the total shutdown costs for year 3 only, and I open a bracket T9 to 12. So that is from Q9 to Q12. We are told that learning stops at Q8, i.e., when X is equal to 8. So we need to know, so we have to find T8, which is the costs for just the 8th quarter. You know, when we are given all these costs, this is the cost alone for the first quarter, this is the cost for the second quarter. Assuming they said learning ends at the fourth quarter, this 25,200 would have been the small T4, that would have been the cost for the fourth quarter. This is something like that we are doing. You know, we couldn't complete the table, we couldn't complete the table because this table can only be completed if we are doubling. That means 1 to 2, 2 to 4. This 3 was given as a result of actual data. So, but we will only know from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, can forecast from 4 to 8. We cannot forecast from 8 to 12. It will be from 8 to 16, things like that. So we cannot use this table further. We only use this table to know our learning rates, and we use it to forecast the 8th data. So what we need to do now is we will now rely on the formula method. Learning stops at Q8, right? So we need to find the 8th quarter costs. How do we find it? 8th quarter costs T1 to 8 minus T1 to 7. Okay, that's fine. So what do? We already know the 8th quarter cost, T1 to 8. We learned that it's 210,600. Now we need to find 1 to 7. How do we do that? First, we look for Y1 to 7, which is when X, okay, AX, use the formula method, is AX raised to power B. Okay, so what is our B? We look for B here. B, okay, we already know that our A, let's define our parameters. We already know that A is 36,000. X is 7. Of course, we know it's cumulatively 1 to 7. What is our B? B is the log of R all over the log of 2. What is log of R? Is the log of 0.9 divided by the log of 2. I can remember 2 is 0.3010. Let me confirm that. I will start with 2 and I will say log 0.3010 to 2 4 decimal places. That's fine. Then log 0.9. I know that this one will start with a minus. So let me put that 0.9 log 0.04576. I want to make it 4 decimal. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 0.0458. 0.0458. 0.0458. So that's what we are going to use now. Now I'm going to approximate and I'll take everything here. Now, if I want to use everything here, it's possible, but I want to clear my calculator. Let me do something now. This is 2 log. All right, so this is log 2. For the sake of accuracy, I'm going to copy everything here and bring it to this calculator. So this is 0.9 log of 0.9 divided by the log of 2. I've pasted everything in the calculator and it gives me this. So I have it as minus 0.1520. So I can say this is B minus 0.1520. So that's your B. If you are deciding to use what is on the calculator here, if you decide to use 0.0458, sorry, 0.0458, that's minus, then divided by 0.3010, you are getting 0.15222. Zero point 0.1522. So you see it's slightly different. It doesn't matter whether you put 0 minus 0.1520 or 1522, it doesn't matter. Your answers might be slightly different, but it's close. So whichever way you want to, because you may not want to be able to remember all of this, you may not want to be able to carry two calculators. So you need to know that even if your answers are different, it doesn't matter as long as they are close. If you are approximating to 3 decimal places, you see you are going to be getting the same thing, almost the same thing. Now we have our B to be this. So all we now need to do is to come here and say Y, because we know it's Y1 to 7, is equal to our A is what? 36,000 multiplied by our X is 7 raised to power minus 1.1520. So what it means here is 36,000 multiplied by, we have to express this one now. Let's see what we'll do. I will say 7, and this is my power figure, raised to power 0.1520. Remember to put the minus before it. This minus you're going to be using and not this minus. If you put this minus, it's going to be at the front here. So it's a different thing. So this is what this is. Now this is going to give us 0. I want to make them 4 decimal places still. 74395. So it's 0.7440. 0.7440. 0.7440. I will not claim what is in my calculator, even though I'm writing it in 4 decimal places. I'm just multiplying this by 36,000. And I'm going to give it to the nearest whole number, no decimal this time. This is going to give me 26,782. 26,782. 26,782. 26,782. So that's my Y1 to 7. After getting Y1 to 7, what's the next thing you need to do? You need to find your total from 1 to 7. So that's what we are going to do now. We are going to look for T1 to 7. Same thing as saying X times Y1 to 7. Our X is already 7. Multiplied by Y1 to 7 is this 26,782. So when we multiply, I multiply this by 7, I'll be getting 187,476. 187,476. 187,476. Okay. If you are to multiply it this way, you'll be getting 4 here, because 2 times 7 is 14. But I decided to use what is in my calculator straight ahead, and I got approximated 0.6. Whichever you do, whether you are using this 7 times the whole of this and you get 17474, it doesn't matter. The range of answers that you'll be given will be close and you are going to get all your marks. So I'm going to use this, or for the sake of those who will be coming to come and ask me how did we get our 6, I will use the 4. So let's do it again, just to be happy with what we've done. I would say 7 multiplied by 26,782, and it gives me this, as against what I have in my calculator. But what I have in my calculator seems to be more accurate than when I approximate and use approximate figure, but it doesn't matter. All right, so this is my T1 to 7. And so we're looking for T8, which is T1 to 8 minus T1 to 7. So T1 to 8, we got it as 210,630. Am I correct? 210,600. 600. Then that's T1 to 8. Then T1 to 7 is 187,474. I still want to check if we are in line. Okay, so T1 to 8, yes, 210,600. So now, what we have now is, let's minus them and see what we will have. I already have this on my calculator, so I'll put minus sign before it and I'll say plus 210,600. So in this way, 210,600 minus 187,474. That will give me 23,126. 23,126. 23,126. So this is your T8. So this is the cost for the 8th quarter only. So we'll say 8 quarter 8 cost only. All right, so this T8 23,126 is the steady cost per quarter. So to get T9 to 12, we will say, because there is no learning, each of this quarter will be using the same cost. There are 4 quarters. Simply say 23,126 per quarter multiplied by the 4 quarters involved in quarter 9 to 12. So you multiply this by 4, and that gives me 92,504. So 92,504. This is the cost of shutdown for year 3 only. If you are also asked to find the shutdown cost for year 4, it's still going to be 92,504 because learning has stopped. So this is the estimated cost you'll be spending per quarter. And that's how you answer this question. That's the answer to this question. Um, is May 2019, question 4. This is, sorry, November 2019, question 4. I can. All right. So, what have we learned from this question? Let's do a summary of what we've learned from this question. We were told to answer what is the meaning of learning curve. We are asked to explain the concept of learning curve, and we said that when productivity doubles, the learning rate is constant. And we are asked to look for the rate which is inherent in the data. The rate was not given, but we were given a table of just quarter and shutdown costs. These are the peculiar quarter costs. Someone says, is there no shorter way than this? If you know any shorter way, please help us. This is the shortest and best way I can do. There is no magic. If you must follow the learning curve process, there is no better way than this. The other way I would have talked about in getting my 90% would have been going through log and anti-log, and it's longer. So there is no better way than this. I don't even know if you can, if you look at the ICANN past question solution, if you could understand what is there. You can only understand it if you attend this class and see this method. So just understand this method and the concept. The thing here is understand the concept. These are the shutdown costs. We need to look for their cumulative total. Then we look for cumulative average. So once you can do that, we are set for the first part. Identify the first cost. Then we now use the doubling effect. I call it the doubling effect. Moving from quarter 1 to quarter 2, the average cost reduces. Now, what is the percentage? It reduces from 36 to 32.4. What is that percentage? We got it at 0.9. We now test it from quarter 2 to quarter 4. So moving from 32.4 to 29.25, what is the percentage decrease that will make you decrease from this to here? 0.9. That means that 0.9 is the learning rate. We now said calculate the shutdown cost for just year 2. Now, learning is still occurring. Learning is occurring. And so when you have to double from quarter 4 down to quarter 8, which is the end of the second year, it means this figure must be reduced by the same learning rate. This figure has to reduce by the same learning rate to give us a smaller figure, 26,325, which is quarter 8 average. Quarter 8 average. This is not quarter 8 cost. This is the average from quarter 1 down to quarter 8. The speed or the average cost. All right. Then we're not looking for the total cost from quarter 1 to quarter 8. You must know the total cost. We use this formula X times Y, and we got 210. So what we simply did is quarter 1 to 8, which is 2 years, minus quarter 1 to 4, which is 1 year. We only get quarter 5 to 8. Okay. Then we now did that to be 93,600. Okay. Then we look at the shutdown cost for the third year. Now learning stops at quarter 8. So because learning stops at quarter 8, we need to find the 8th quarter cost. Remember, this 26,325 is the average from quarter 1 to quarter 8. When we look for T8, it gave us 26, sorry, it gives us 23,126. How did we get that? We look for the total of quarter 8 and the total of quarter 1 to 8 and total of quarter 1 to 7. And when we minus it together, we got this. And you know, we need to look for our B. We didn't have B before, we only got R, which we estimated. And so we got our B from this logarithm and we use it. Okay, after getting this 8th quarter cost, learning has stopped. So subsequent quarter will be using this cost. So we multiply it by 4 and we got this. So I would like you to rewatch this video and see how you can understand it. This is learning experience curve. And so if you don't understand it now, you watch again, you watch the second time, your learning experience will be increased. By the time you do it the 4th time, of course, the learning rate. Now, we want to take the last question for this learning curve, and that should be an I can pass question again. Let's look at this May 2016, question 7. I think, I don't know, May 2016, question 7. That's what we did the last time. That's what we did the last time. So let's check again. All right. November 2018, question 4. So let's go to November 2018, question 4. November 2018, question 4. All right. So this is the last question for learning curve. Julmat Investment manufacturing company has developed a new product. This requires an initial capital investment of 5 million naira. So this is the investment. At the end of the product lives, the capital equipment is expected to have a value of 3 million. So this is the salvage value. So it means at the beginning of the investment, you invest 5 million. At the end of the investment, you have 3 million. All right. Julmat expects an annual rate of return, ARR, of 20% on its average investment. Average investment, if we know average investment is, I will say average investment is beginning plus end divided by 2, which means this is 5 plus 3 divided by 2. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4M. So your average investment is 4M. 20% on the average investment will be 0.2 multiplied by 4M, which is 0.8M, or I can say 800K. So let's take note of that. They said Julmat requires an annual rate of return of 20% on its average investment on this type, on product of this type. The new product has an expected life of 1 year before it will be replaced by a more advanced product. The new product will be manufactured in batches of 1,000 units. So what it means here, they have told us that here, one batch is equal to 1,000 units. Using the just-in-time production system. The first, and I told you when you are looking for the measure of value, your measure of A, look at what comes after first, the first batch. So your answers will be in batches. It's expected to incur a direct labor cost of 100,000. So what it means is that A is 100,000 naira per batch, not per unit. But a 75% learning curve, which we know that R here now, R is 0.75, is expected until the cumulative production equals 30 batch. So you will say learning ends at batch 30. Now, thereafter, each batch is expected to incur the same direct labor cost as that of the 30th batch. This goes to show that learning ends at batch 30. The expected direct material cost for the first batch is 550,000. However, an experience curve is expected to apply to the first 10 batches produced. Thereafter, no further savings in material cost per batch are expected. Other production costs are expected to be 10,000 naira per batch. So this is material cost. We said here, material equals to 50,000 for first batch. And experience curve will apply till the 10th batch. Other production cost is 10,000 naira per batch. No experience curve. So it's just 10,000 naira per batch. Right? Sales. Sales of the new product are expected as follows for each of the 4 stages of the product life cycle. We have product life cycle introduction, growth, maturity, decline. Note, the index for 75% is this. So don't need to go and look for your B. Don't need to waste your time. B, this is B. Don't need to go and do log 0.75 over log 2. It's going to give you this. Required. Prepare calculations to show the total direct labor cost of the product for each of the 4 stages of the product life cycle. So that's what we're going to do now. November 18, question number 4. So we'll come down here. I can pass question. So this is ICANN pass question. ICANN pass question. November 2018, question 4. That is our subject matter. Julmat Limited. So let me bring it closer. Julmat Limited. What are we asked to find? We are asked to prepare calculations to show the total direct labor costs of the product for each of the product life cycle. So what we are going to do here, we are looking for labor costs. Labor costs. So what do? We have this. Let's see the way we are going to do this now. This is total labor cost. So that's A. Total labor costs for each stage of the product life cycle. PLC, product life cycle. Product life cycle. So this is stage. Then we have units. Then we have batch. And I would say this is batch because I'm more interested in batch. Then I would say this is workings and this is labor costs. Now that's how we are going to do this. So we have the introduction. So I'll call this is intro. Growth. Maturity. Then there's decline. Okay, so now that we have this, let me look at the figures. 10,000, 30, 60, 30. 10,000, 30,000, 60,000, and 30,000. And we said 10,000, 1,000 units makes a batch. I think that's what it says here. One batch equals to 1,000 units. So if there are 10,000 units, this is 10 batches. This is 30 batches. This is 60 batches. And this is 30 batches. Of course, this should give me 130. 60 plus 40 plus 30 is 130. But look at another way of getting it. At this point, introduction stage, the cumulative is 10. You have 10, cumulative is 10. You now have 30, cumulative is 40. 40, you now have 60, cumulative is 100. 100, you now have 30, the cumulative is 130. That's this 130 here. All right. Now, this is going to be workings number 1 to get the labor cost. So how do we get the labor cost here? I'll go down here to do workings. workings. Number one, labor costs for introduction stage. All right, so we are told that our A, where is that A again? The first batch is expected to incur a direct labor cost of 100,000. So our A is 100,000. All right. Our B, we are given B. Minus 0.4150. All right. Then our X is going to be what? First 10 batches. First 10 batches. So X is going to be 10. So what are we looking for? We are looking for the total costs. How do we get that? First of all, we need to find y1 to 10. This is given as ax raised to power b, which is 100,000 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 0.4150. This is going to give me 100,000 multiplied by, we now have our calculator here, 10 raised to power 0.4150. Don't forget to put the minus equal sign. 0.3846. 0.3846. Now, when you multiply this by 10, by 100,000, I'll multiply everything in my calculator here by 100,000. I'll take it to the whole number. 38460. Okay, 38459. 38459. 38459. So this is your average, 38459. Now, after getting your average for y1 to 10, we need to do t1 to 10. T1 to 10 is simply x multiplied by your y1 to 10. Your x is 10. Your y1 to 10 is 338, 459. When you multiply by 10, it gives you 384,590. All right, so that's your cost, T1 to 10. 38,384,590. 384,590. That's what we'll have here. 384,590. So that's what we have. Then for us to get the labor cost for the growth, now we are told something. the 75% learning curve is expected until the cumulative production equals 30 batch. And so we say learning ends at 30 batch. But if you look at the growth stage, it's not this 30 we are talking about, because this 30 is not cumulative. This 30 came only from growth. And so cumulative here, after the whole growth stage, is 40. So what it means here is that this 40 cumulative, there's a 10, this 10 is inside here. There is 20 from the growth stage that joins with this 10 to make it 30, and there is another 10 here. So what it means here is this. So let's come here and let's do everything here again. So I will say workings 2, labor cost for growth stage. Okay, we'll say growth stage production is 30 batches. Cumulative at growth stage is 40. So it means that this 40 is equal to the 10 in introduction. So this is the 10 in intro plus 20 in growth learning. So here is learning 2. There's a learning here. This 20, there's a learning inside, plus 10 growth, no learning. So this 30 in growth stage plus this introduction stage is what makes it 40. Of course, introduction, we've done that. It has learning. Then 20 into the growth stage will give you the 30 that learning stops. Then the rest of this 10 has no learning in it. So it means we are going to do 2 sets of calculation to get our growth stage. So this is where it gets interesting, and I want you to pay more than the usual attention. So I will say growth stage learning. So I will say Y1 to 30, which is from here down to this place, which is this 30 here, is going to give me AX raised to power B. Our X is what again? 100,000. A is 100,000. Multiplied by our X will now be 30. Now this 30 is including introduction stage of 10 and this first part of growth stage 20. Not this 30 here. It's taking 10 from and 20 out of it. All right, so that's the 30 here, raised to power minus 0.4150. Is it 4150? Let's see. 4150. That's good. So what do we do now? we'll multiply and do the answer once and for all here. So what I would advise you here is to start from this one with brackets. You say 30 raised to power 0.4150. You put your minus. You say equal to, don't need to write anything. You just multiply it now by 100,000. Write the final answer here in whole number 24. Then is going to give me x times y. Our x is already 30 multiplied by our y, which is 24,338. Now, what I will do, I will go to that my calculator. I didn't clean that. Okay. I didn't clean that. 24,338. I'll just multiply by 30. And I have 731,334. 731,334. 731,334. That's my T1 to 30. Now, we said learning stops at 30. And if learning stops at 30, what do we need to do? We need to find T30, which is the same thing as saying T1 to 30 minus T1 to 29. So we'll have to start again by doing Y1 to 29. It's a repetitive process. Ax raised to power b 100,000 multiplied by 29 raised to power minus 0.4150. So we'll get an answer here. Let's do that quickly. 29 raised to power 0.4150. You put your minus equal to, now multiply it by 100,000. That will give you 24,723. 24,723. 24,723. Then you come back here and say T1 to 29 will give you x times y. X is 29 multiplied by 24,723. That will give me how much? We already have that in our calculator. 24,723 multiplied by 29 gives me 716,973. 716,973. Let me see if that's the correct answer. 716,973. All right. Now that we have that as our answer, we are now looking for T30. Now, T30 is going to give me T1 to 30 minus T1 to 29. So T1 to 30 is 731,334. Now this is 716,973. So what do we have? This is going to give me 731,334 minus 716,973. That's going to give me 14,361. 14,361. That's just for T30. So, but what are we looking for now? We are looking for the growth stage in just the growth stage. The growth stage learning, I should have just said here, this is T11 to 30. This is the growth stage alone, T11 to 30. So we are saying here, growth stage learning, T11 to 30, is the same thing as saying T1 to 30 minus T1 to 10. T1 to 30, we have it as 731,334 minus T1 to 10. T1 to 10 here, we got it here as 384,590. 384,590. So when we get that, what do we do? Seven 334 minus 384,590. That gives me 346,744. 346,744. Now this is for only the growth stage. Learning stage. Then I will say growth, no learning, which is like saying T31 to 40. Because if you look at it here, cumulatively, the growth stage ends at 40. But it started from T11 down to 40. We've dealt with T11 to T30. So now we are dealing with T31 to 40. So the growth stage, the learning happens to be, this is T11 to 30. Now we are dealing with 31 to 40. Now this is going to be equal to the small T30, because learning ends at 30, which we found, multiply by 10 batches, because T1 to 31 to 40 is 10 batches. So we already have what we calculated here, 14,361. So this is going to be 14,361 multiplied by 10 will give me 143,610. So therefore, total growth costs, which is T11 to 40, is the same thing as saying T31 11 to 30 plus T 31 to 40. We already have T11 to 30 as this figure here, 346,744. We now have this one, 143,610. Add them together. Add them together. This here plus 143,610. That gives me 490,354. So that's it. So we'll take this here, 490,354. Take it down here, 490,354. Then the rest of these ones will not be difficult. So this is workings 3 and workings 4. It will not be difficult. Now workings 3, which is for 60 batch, we just only deal with the 60 batches because growth and the learning has stopped now. So we say workings 3, maturity stage cost, 60 batches. So you simply say 14,361 multiplied by 60. All I will just do here, 14,361 multiplied by 60. That will give me 88. I didn't get that figure. 86. 861,660. 861,660. I'm going to take it down here. 861,660. 861,660. I can decide to do workings 4. This is half of this. 30 is half of 60. I can decide to just divide this by 2. And I will get 430, 830. 430, 830. You can as well do the workings if you want to. Now, if I total this cost, let's total this cost. I have 830, 430, 830. I'll go up plus 861,660 plus 490,354 plus 384,590. That gives me 2,167,434. 21,67,434. So this is the total cost for the 130 batches. It cost me 2,167,344. So, but you were told to give them per stage. That's what we just did here. We just did that one now. Then I said, assume that there is no experience curve in relation to the direct material cost. Now, what it means is this. If there is no experience curve in the direct material curve cost, it means that this first batch that is 50,000, all the batches will become 50,000. All the batches will become 50,000 because no experience curve. Now they said, prepare a statement that shows the profitability of the new product for each of the four stages of the product life cycle individually and in total for the product life. So what they mean here, we'll do prepare a profit statement. So the B part here, profit statement for each product life cycle and total. So what I'll do here, I'll write my total here. This is total. This is decline. This is maturity. This is growth. And this is introduction. Now the profit statement, we'll need to look at the sales revenue. So I will say sales price. So what's the sales price here? I have 120, 100, 80, and 50. 120, 100, 80, 50. 120, 100, 80, and 50. So this is in Naira. Then sales quantity. So this is per unit, right? Per unit. So I'm going to put them here in units. If I want to convert this to per batch, I'll need to multiply this by, okay, I can multiply them by 1,000. If I multiply it by 1,000, so that would be, this is 120,000. This is 100,000. This is 80,000. And this is 50,000 per batch. So I'll say per batch. So I've converted sales quantity now in batches. So this is now 10 batch. So if I have used 120 per unit, I would have used 10,000 units. But now I've converted to batch and I've used batch. This is going to be 30. This is going to be 60. And this is going to be 30. So this is going to be 1,200,000. This is going to be 3 million. 6 times 8 is 48. 4.8 million. 5 times 3, 15. 1.5 million. Add them up. What do we have? 1.2 plus 3 plus 4.8 plus 1.5. That gives me 10.5 billion. So 10,500,000. So this is 10,500,000. Shift this a little. 10,500,000. All right. So that's for sales revenue. So I'll call this sales revenue. Then I will say material costs. Material costs 50,000 per batch. So you see why I have to convert everything to batch, because they told us the first batch. Okay, so material is, we are told, is 50,000 naira per batch. So what it means that 50 times 10 is 500,000. So this is 500,000. That's material cost. 50 times 3, 5 times 3 is 15. 1 million, 1.5. So if this is 1.5, this should be 3 million. 5 times 6, 30. And this should be 1.5. 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3. 3 plus 3, okay, 1.5, 1.5, 3. 3 plus 3, 6. Plus 5, 6.5. So this gives me 6,500,000. That's your material cost. Then we have other production costs. We are told that other production costs is 10,000 naira per batch. I will say 10,000 naira per batch. So 10 times 10, that will give me 100,000. This is 300,000. This is 600,000. And this is 300,000. Everything will give me 130,000, because it's 130,000 batches. Then we have not put our labor costs. Decided to put it last. Labor costs CA. So we'll take the labor cost we've gotten in A. So for intro is 384,590. For growth, we are taking 490,354. Then for maturity, 861,660. And 430,830. When we added them together, 21,67,434. All right. So we're done with our. Is there any fixed cost? There was no fixed cost. That's fine. No fixed cost is there. So we can close this, close this, close this, and close. So what happened now? This is your profit. So this is your profit. So your profit is going to be this. So let's do the first one. 1,200,000 minus 500,000 minus 100,000 minus 30, 384,590. That gives me 215,410. 215,410. Let's look at the second one. 3 million minus 1.5 minus 300 minus 490,354. That gives me 709,646. Because this is 3. Sorry? Okay, yeah, that's 3. All right, so let's look at the third one. 4,800,000 minus 3 million minus 600,000 minus 861,660. That gives me 338,340. 338,340. 338,340. Okay, now let's do the next one. I have 1.5 million minus 1.5 million minus 300,000 minus 430, 830. That will give me minus 730, 830. Now let's add all of this together. I already have this minus in my calculator. So I'll plus 338, 340 plus 709, 646 plus 215,410. I have 532,566. 532,566. 532,566. I need to confirm by doing it this other way. 10,500,000 minus 6,500,000 minus 130,000 minus 2,167,434. Something I didn't do well. I'll take it again. 10,500 minus 6,500 minus 130. No, it's 1.3. That's a mistake. 300,000, 1.3. Sorry. So this is 1.3. 100 plus 300, 600, 1.3. It's 1.3. All right, so 1.3 minus 2,167,434. And that gives me the same thing here. That shows that our calculation was correct. All right, that's our profit statement. We have answered this part of the question. Then we are now told, assuming that the direct material experience curve applies, calculate the average direct cost material per batch that must be incurred in order to meet its ARR over the product life cycle. So we are calculating average direct material cost per batch. So I will say here, part C, average direct material cost per batch to meet companies ARR. And we are told that our ARR is 20% on average investment. We did that workings for us there, and our average, our ARR is the same thing as ARR is going to give us profit margin or profit all over average investment. Therefore, our profit is going to give us ARR multiplied by average investment. So what's going to be our profit? Our profit, which is a target profit, the ARR is 0.2, which is 20%. Average investment, we said, is 5 million plus 3 million divided by 2, which is the same thing as 0.2 multiplied by 4 million, which is 800,000. Now the profit is 800,000. So we said target profit is 800,000. Current profit. Current profit. What's the current profit here? 532,566. 532,566. 532 566. So this is the current profit. The difference is because there was no experience curve in direct material. Now they are telling you now that assume that direct material experience curve applies. So how are we going to do it? This is as a result of no experience curve. So what's the difference? The difference now, I will say difference in profit, difference in profit, difference in profit is going to be 267, 267, 434. 267434, 267434. Now, this difference in profit is as a result of direct materials. Your direct materials in that question we did in part B or so, all the cost was 50,000 per batch. And so we use a flat curve now. Now, if learning was to take place, it means that as we go each batch, we are supposed to have a reduction in direct material cost. So that means this 6267434 should have reduced our material cost. Our material cost is how much? 6,500,000. 6,500,000. So I will come here and I'll say current material costs 6,500,000. Cost reduction to meet target profit is going to be 267,434. So when we reduce it, our new direct material cost that will give us that profit, have this here, 6,500,000, should give us 6,232,566. So this is 6,232,566. Okay, so this is material cost to meet target ARR. Now, total batches is 130. So therefore, material cost per batch is going to give me 6,232,566 divided by 130. So what is it going to be? We'll divide this by 130. That will give me 47,942, 943, 47,943, 47,943 per batch. So that's what the question is asking you. Assuming the direct material experience curve applies, calculate the average direct material cost per batch that must be incurred in order for the company to meet its target ARR over the product life cycle. Then discuss the concept of life cycle and its effect on product pricing strategies as different stages of the product life cycle. So normally product life cycle, at the beginning, the cost is going to be too high because we are just starting, you'll be making advertisement, you're making awareness and all that. The cost will be too high. Then as it grows, as you are growing, the cost is reducing because you are buying more, the cost will reduce. Then at the maturity, the cost tend to be steady, then declining, the cost tends to go down. But of course, this something you can look out in your the past question that it relates to see what it actually says. We are going to still treat product life cycle, so we'll not rush over this. We'll still come back here and look at this particular D part of the question and discuss it over the product life cycle. So that is how we answer that question. If I may go down there and see what they have here as that answer, let's just take it to this to save time. Question 4. They said the concept of product life cycle is that cost and revenue of product are accumulated over the product life cycle, and its overall productivity is measured rather than separating costs and revenue into accounting period. In this scenario, the length of the product life cycle is 12 months. Yes, this may not coincide with the company's accounting year. The statement shown in solution B shows that the product's productivity over its life cycle. As illustrated in this scenario, to this question, there are 4 recognized stages in the life cycle of the product. In this scenario, it appears that Joulmart Limited is using a market skimming approach to the initial launch pricing because its product because it is starting with a high price in the introduction stage. Then this is then being gradually reduced over the life cycle of the product. The company will not only be reducing the price of the product in order to make it harder for competitors to enter into the market, but also to increase the demand for the product through the growth stage. At the time, the cost of products will be lower than that at the launch stage due to the effect of learning and experience curve on its labor and material costs. The maturity stage, the company will be reducing the selling price further to consolidate its sales and would hope that there may be further cost savings due to economies of scales, though these are not evident from the data in the scenario. Finally, in the decline stage, the company will have to reduce its price to sustain sales while under more competition from other similar products in the market prior to launching a new product of its own. So I would like you to look at these comments, juxtapose it with all the ones we've solved before. The first one, when we were trying to do 10,000 units, and we said the last 1,000 units was difficult to forecast the selling price. And we say that because it's in the decline stage, the price is going to be reduced. So that's some of the things that have been said here. Try to juxtapose this with what we have learned previously. So this brings us to the end of our learning curve, class or topic. In our next class, we'll be discussing a different topic. I will tell you what the topic will be before time. So, but this has been a good learning experience for us. We've seen 3 past questions, all ICANN past questions, bringing the learning curve from different perspectives. So I would like you to look at other more recent past questions to see how learning curve was being tested in the exam, and using the knowledge you've gotten so far, try to attempt these. So thank you so much for the time invested in this class, and I will see you in the next class.